All right, Miles, it's time to move on to the Atlanta Falcons. This is a Falcons team that surprised a lot of people. They're the first place in the NFC South. They've done a lot of good things this year, but it's not just what they've done on the football field that's been really smart. It's been the moves they made off the football field, talking about building their team, not just for this year, but for the long haul. And I know you got some specifics on a really great move that they made recently and what that could mean for them long term. But before I hand it over to you, Falcons fans, look, great start to the season. Obviously, first place in division. Not a lot of people saw it coming. I'm sure a lot of you did, though. But I want to hear from you guys specifically in the comment section below who you think the most valuable player is to this Falcons football team at this point in the season, now that we're about halfway through the year. Look, there's a lot of guys that could potentially be up for this. This has been really a team effort to get to this stage, but we want to hear from you specifically. One guy who you think has been the most important, most valuable to this Falcons team as they find themselves in first place in that division. But Myers, I'll hand it over to you now. What do you have out of Atlanta?
Yeah, Nick. So obviously, the big news coming out of Atlanta is the Falcons have traded suspended wide receiver Calvin Ridley to the Jacksonville Jaguars. And now, in return, the Falcons have received up to, obviously, there's a lot of language in this deal. There's a lot of play time, reinstatement type stuff. But the max that the Falcons could get back is a 2023 fifth rounder and a 2024 second rounder. So a second and a fifth. Those are some pretty big picks for a guy who's suspended, who hasn't been playing for the team, took a year off, then he gets suspended for the gambling incident. So he hasn't been with your team for 2 years and you get a second and a fifth for him. I think that's a pretty good deal, especially, Nick, especially because this Falcons offense is rolling right now. Fourth ranked offense in the NFL per PFF. And I think largely in part to two guys on the screen right now, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, two superstars in the making. These are guys that are going to define your team for this rest of this year, the coming seasons. This is a match made in heaven. Two guys that are freak athletes, contested catch masters. I really like what they have going on. And I don't think Ridley is going to fit into this offense, really. I mean, obviously, he's a great player and he could help you out, but I don't think you need him. I think that you can go on your own way. Leave the baggage that Ridley brought to the table behind and, keep the culture that you have going right now and bringing it forward. Because once the Falcons are healthy, and I'm specifically referring to Cordero Patterson coming back on the offensive side of the ball, this is offense that is set up to win now. They get the defense side of the ball fixed, Nick. Maybe the second and fifth round draft pick can help you get through that kind of stuff. This team is going to be ready to go. But, Nick, like you said, they're already in first place. I mean, who would have expected that? Matt Ryan gone, Julio Jones gone, Calvin Ridley not playing this season. A lot of people count the Falcons out, not us. We always thought the Falcons were going to be a lot better than people said they were. But who would have guessed? First place in the division, a very strong team, Nick, and they're making strong trades and, like we said, going towards the future. So this is a Falcons team that's looking pretty bright. But, Nick, that's not all that looks good for the Falcons. They have recently come into a windfall of cap space in next year. And I think this past year they were in what you'd call cap hell. Now they have opened up a lot of space, Nick. And let's get into that right now. So the Falcons have, I believe, $74 million in cap space next year. What do you think they're going to do with all that?
Well, so I mean, it's what cap space is. It's just like basically it's a passport, right? You can go wherever you want. You can make whatever kind of moves you need to do to structure your team. When you're limited on cap space, obviously you can't. You have to, restructure deals, which hurts you long term. You have to limit the kind of players you can go after. You can't overpay a little bit to get premium players. And we've seen that teams that overpay a little bit in the offseason can really revamp the team and revamp them quickly. I'm talking, of course, about the Miami Dolphins, who gave up a lot of draft capital, a lot of dollars to get Tyreek Hill. The end results of it are what we're seeing on the football field. When the Dolphins are healthy at quarterback, they're one of the best offenses in the NFL. We're seeing this with the Philadelphia Eagles, right? That went out and got A.J. Brown, spent a lot of draft capital on him, locked him up to a big deal. Guess what? The Eagles are undefeated. And the Eagles, frankly, remind me 2 years ago what this Falcons team is today, right? Or I should say last year. The Eagles last year were barely above 500. They ended up sneaking to the playoffs. We'll see what the Falcons end up. They're kind of at that same level now. But last year was like, hey, it's kind of a rebuilding year. They're in salary cap situation. But the GM for the Eagles, I think Howie Rosenstein, Howie Rosenbaum, something like that. I forget exactly how it's pronounced. Feel free to correct me when you get a chance. But he did a lot of trading. He unloaded a lot of cap coming into this year, collected draft assets. And that's exactly what the Falcons are doing here, led by Terry Fontenot, to do the exact same model here. That way, next next year with all of this draft capital, right? What they've gotten with the Ridley trade, what they got with the Matt Ryan trade, and all of this salary cap space, they can go out in free agency and then draft, make big moves. And as good as this roster is today, right? A lot better than people thought. They're going to be so much better next year when they have all of this dollars and all of this capital to really allocate and just building it everywhere. Every weakness you see in this Falcons defense, whether it's pass rush, whether it's linebacker, or it's a safety, more depth at O-line, maybe another slot receiver to kind of add into the mix. That'd be kind of a good fit for Mariota or Ritter at that point. They're going to have the ability to go out and get those guys with almost no restraints. And that's a sign of a really smartly built and really well-built football team.
Yeah, Nick, and you're really right on the money. It's Roseman, so very close.
Roseman,
You probably got a combination there somehow.
Yeah,
but
that was bad. Yeah,
but
Roseman.
This Falcons team, I think they like you said, they do have the chance to sneak into the playoffs this year, Nick. Because you look, they have a tough game versus the Chargers.
First place,
yeah, and then Panthers, Bears, Commanders, Steelers. Those are 4 very, very, very winnable games. And then you go into your bye and then hit the end part of your schedule, which isn't really that strong either. You got Saints, Ravens, 2 tough teams, especially divisionally, then Cardinals, Bucks. So you can round out this season. I could easily see the Falcons winning this division, making it to the playoffs right now on who they have. But if they go forward, Nick, I think that all of this cap space, these draft picks that they're getting, is something that should be spent on the back end of this defense. I think they could upgrade in the safety position a couple times. I think that the linebacker position is a place that the Falcons should look, and corners as well. They could upgrade there. This defensive line, I do think, is pretty solid from the Falcons. Ebiketie is looking nice. Grady Jarrett is really good. Their O-line looks really, really good. Then, like we said, offense as a whole, very strong for the Falcons. So I think there's a lot of places they can go, a lot of stuff they can do. And it's basically exactly what you said, Nick. This cap space is a passport, and this is endless future for the Falcons. It allows them to go wherever they want to. And I just see this as this year is a bonus year, icing on the top. Let's see how far they can go in the playoffs. Let's see what they can get a miraculous Bengals style, Super Bowl run. But you have a brilliant lineup for the next few years. So kudos to the Falcons for lining this all up. You've set yourself up for some huge success in the future.